In the UFC, there are a lot of fighters where you watch them and it feels like they're never going to lose, except in 2025 because
They're all losing.
They're all losing. All the undefeated fighters are losing, but there are still a lot of fighters that it's just impossible to imagine them losing at this point in their careers. So today we're going to be giving our top 10 UFC fighters with the strongest can't lose aura.
Knowing this advanced data that we have on undefeated fighters, I only have 3 undefeated fighters on my list.
Okay, all right.
Only 3.
That's valid. I mean, Lerone Murphy was the first one to break the curse.
Well, Lerone Murphy's dog water, so
Exactly.
he ain't going on this list.
Exactly.
All right, I'll start off at number 10 with my first undefeated fighter. A newcomer in the UFC, a newcomer to the heavyweight division.
Oh, gosh.
Talshin Teixeira. You see
Really?
this guy walking out? Who beats the final boss?
6'9".
He looks like a video game villain. The way he just walks out, and it's like, oh crap! Like the way that we didn't actually because UFC 312 was dog water, so we didn't actually do full research.
Oh, no.
We didn't even know who Talshin Teixeira was, and we saw him walk out and went, oh, what did we just do?
Well, yeah.
here?
As soon as I saw him walk out, I recognized him from the Contender Series, and I was like, okay,
Junior Top is toast.
we're cooked here, bro. Like the fact that, and to be honest, all the other MMA YouTubers picked Justin Toffa to win that I can remember. So we weren't the only ones.
I saw a lot of Talshin Teixeira on
Really?
TikTok. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Well,
But-
those are the guys that say my picks never lose, so bet on these ones.
Yeah.
I hate
I've
those
never
guys.
gone to UFC pick wrong.
Exactly.
What do you mean, bro? You just went 0 for it on the last week.
Isn't it wild that UFC 313 was the last pay-per-view? That feels like an eon ago.
It feels like so long ago.
Yeah, but 314 needs to wash away the bad taste of the last month. Anyways, my number 10 fighter, it's going to be Dricus du Plessis.
He's a guy that didn't actually make my list.
Really?
I wanted to.
I know, but I
He
guess
was
his
kind
next
of, he was
matchup-
kind of one of the honorable mentions on the list.
Yeah,
he was close.
If he didn't have Hamza as his next matchup, he would have been way higher on this list, but he's one of those guys where even though he has the worst style known to man, it's like, how do you beat this guy? You can't really out-wrestle him unless you're the greatest wrestler of all time. Maybe Hamza can do it. You can't outstrike him. Izzy and Sean, they had trouble with it. Izzy did pretty good, but it feels like Dricus is just like steeply improving. So, I think if you run that back, Dricus does a lot better.
Yeah.
Dricus in the rematch, undefeated. Come on.
It gives you questions, when you're doing the MMA math. Like,
Yeah.
Adesanya landed his most significant strikes ever in a round versus Dricus du Plessis. So how does a guy like Imavov fare against Dricus?
Yeah.
And how we get to see Imavov's wrestling more so. So interesting matchups if Dricus can somehow beat Khamzat Chimaev.
Yeah, I think it has to happen this summer.
Yeah. I feel like right now it could potentially be, knowing that we're not getting Islam Topuria at International Fight Week, I'm thinking it's probably the backup plan for International Fight Week. Right now.
At least a co-main for it. Depending if Jones asks.
I don't think that they would run that fight as a co-main, but I think as
Yeah.
the backup plan for the main event, if Jones Aspel falls through,
And then
Chimaev versus Dricus, that's a good fight.
yeah,
And then Pantoja KKF co-main.
and you got to have Imavov as a backup probably.
Yeah.
For the main event. Just knowing it's
No, it's Kaio. It's Kaio. It's always Kaio.
True.
The second Kaio here's any middleweight that in the top 5's fighting, I'll start my cut.
Well, he actually said he has a fight announcing soon, so I'd assume Whitaker comeback fight or Imavov number 1 contender fight.
Yeah.
Both of those are bangers. I will be watching that.
All right, my number 9, a guy who up until his last fight would have been a heck of a lot higher on this list, but got the decision win in his last fight, so he moves down a few spots. It's Rev Shavkat Rakhmonov.
Interesting. Okay, that's fair. He still has the aura.
He still has the aura, but he maybe got a little bit of a reality check in his last fight. It's kind of like, oh, this guy, he's got some flaws that we didn't see up against guys like Stephen Thompson and those other guys that are the gatekeepers of the welterweight division. When you put him up against another undefeated, high-level former champion type person in Ian Gary, you start to see those holes, but that's fair. You put anyone up against Ian Gary and you're going to see their weak spots.
Yeah, Ian Gary's a super underrated fighter, I think.
Yeah.
I like Shavkat still for this aura, but I think you can't take too much away from the Ian Gary fight because who knows how badly he was injured.
Yeah.
I really hate that you either pull out and you get clowned on or you show up injured and you look bad. It's like what's the best call like what do you do?
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
Because then next thing you know, you're Arman Sarukian blacklisted, basically.
Bro, the fact that he's like not even considered by anyone in the MMA community to get a title shot is just criminal.
Arman's gonna be fighting like BSD next, you know.
BSD is actually booked for Joel Alvarez.
Yeah, I know, but
I'm so hyped for that. Bro.
Give him Bobby Green.
Dude, Green wins.
Work your way back up, buddy.
Number 1 contender, King Green.
That's the type of reference that you make, like as a joke, and everyone's like, "Well, actually, they fought 5 years ago. They already fought. Why would they fight again?"
100%. And Green probably beat him too.
Now they'll be like, "Actually, why would you say that they fought once? You're just spreading misinformation. You guys are such casuals."
I love those comments. All right, my number 9 fighter. So I got Tom Aspinall.
Ooh, he's a little bit higher on my list.
I mean, it's fair because he's like, it seems impossible in the heavyweight division for anyone to beat him except for Jones, which is why I have him so much lower. And also just with any other division, featherweight, flyweight, lightweight, even light heavyweight, it feels like you have every fighter in championship potential. You have like a gauge on, okay, they're good cardio, they can go 5 rounds, they have experience. Tom Aspinall has experience in 1 round, and that's it. So he has aura because he's a big guy, 260, welterweight speed, crazy 1-punch KO power. But it's like, okay, what happens if he's on the ground? You know, what happens if he's on his back? Does he lose right away?
Yeah.
Who knows?
I know he was a tough one to rank because, you know, you're like, he could be as high as like top 5, but he could also be in the bottom 5.
And what if he tears another ACL, brother?
Yeah. All right, number 8. This is where I have my first fighting nerd of the video. This is where I have Carlos Prates. You know, I wanted to put him higher, but, you know, welterweight's just so deep that it's like when you go into a Prates fight, you're not thinking, oh, he's going to beat whoever he fights because, you know, who was he matched up against that pulled out? Oh, Jeff Neal. You know, it's like, you know, Jeff Neal realistically could do it. You know, Jeff Neal's a good fighter. You know, the gatekeepers of welterweight are probably the strongest gatekeepers in any division. You don't see the gatekeepers like those guys in the rankings like you do in other divisions. They're usually outside of them. Yeah. But in welterweight, they're just so good that they're in the rankings still.
Yeah, Prates has so much aura.
So much aura with the knockouts. You know, just somehow this dude just is always walking off. You know, it's like no normal TKOs. No, straight just dead cold.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Even like Neil Magny, where he clipped the side of his head. Neil Magny's flat on his face.
Yeah, not even at like a clean strike. Just dead.
When I watched that fight, it was like that was my Muhammad Ali ghost punch moment. Like nothing hit him, bro. I swear.
That is just like, what is going on with these fighters? What kind of voodoo magic they have? Because like you're watching the Roofy fight, the way he didn't actually clip King Green in the stream. Yeah. Like we thought the stream lagged.
Yeah,
it was just that fast of a punt or a kick right on the temple, but it looks like it missed.
Yeah, there's one angle where it looks like it just goes straight past him, and then the other angle it does.
Yeah, it was like ghost magic.
So funny. All right, my number 8 fighter, very similar to my last person, it's John Jones.
Ooh.
Again.
Oh, I didn't put John Jones on my list.
The best fighter of all time. No actual losses.
Dude, I think this is actually not the first time I've forgotten John Jones in a video.
He's hardly in the UFC. You can hardly consider him a UFC fighter.
McNuggets is more in the UFC.
Well, I'd say those two are on their way out. But, dude, Jones, he's old now. You have to understand, the only thing that's carrying him into this Tom Aspinall fight with any sort of hype is the aura that he's built up over the past few years. He is not the same fighter as he was when he was 33 or 29 winning, or 22 or 23 winning the belt. Like, he's a completely different fighter in a different division where the guys are finally bigger than him, faster than him, and have more power, are well-rounded. Like, Tom Aspinall is the guy. If anyone is ever going to beat him in John Jones' career, Tom Aspinall is going to be the one to do it. And I still believe that Tom Aspinall can do it just because of John Jones's age. I think Prime Jones definitely still has a really good chance, probably even favored, even at a light heavyweight weight. Like, if he came in the octagon at 215, 220 pounds, like, I think I'd probably pick Jones, Prime Jones. But this is not Prime Jones anymore. He's at the very tail end of his career, definitely doesn't care about the sport, but he's a genetic freak.
I'm just thinking about how I picked Taliesin Teixeira over John Jones.
Taliesin Teixeira.
You heard it here right now. You heard it here right now.
1A, 1B.
All right, more heavyweight time. This is where I have Tom. You know, I think when you look at Tom, it's not, his opponents aren't like, oh, can I beat Tom? It's like, can I get out of the first 2 minutes with Tom Aspinall?
So true.
You know, I do think though with a guy like Tom is once someone finds out the path to beat Tom, I do think it's going to be a lot easier to beat Tom, just because I don't love his fighting style, the way that he's always on the back foot or on the outside. You know, someone can figure out
Chin up.
Yeah, someone can figure out how to beat Tom. He's in for a little bit of a nightmare. But
It's just these heavyweights, bro. Like, what are they gonna do?
Yeah,
You know, what's Cyril Gahn gonna do?
yeah, no one's skilled enough, and that's the reality of heavyweight, where you can have that fight style. But I mean, with Tom Aspinall, he just sometimes lacks some aura because he's the funny, nice guy.
Yeah.
You know, but in reality, it's like the only guy that has a chance of even coming close to beating him is the GOAT.
Yeah, that's a good point. My number 7 fighter, that's where I got Paddy Pimblett.
Yes.
This dude, for some reason, he just has so much, like, it's different. It's different aura. It's not aura. It's can't lose aura. He has plot armor mixed with fat aura. You know what I mean? He's just this guy where you're like, yeah, we're giving him a real shot at beating Michael Chandler. He's favorited. We're talking about Paddy Pimblett here. Like, 2 years ago, this guy was getting beaten by Jared Gordon, and now we're saying he's favored to beat Michael Chandler, and I kind of agree with it, which is crazy.
I agree fully. I don't have Paddy on my list.
Wow.
But
What happened to me, bro? I fell off.
I mean, but you look at him coming off of that King Green performance. The whole world was doubting him. Everyone was against Paddy, and then Paddy just did his little Paddy the Daddy. So I meant to say
don't start that.
I meant to say Paddy the Batty dance, but I mixed up dance and Batty.
No, that you've been saying that around the house in your sleep. Paddy the more.
I have not.
Right.
But I understand where you're coming from. You're full like, you know what? You have my full respect for that pick there.
That's a hardcore pick.
All right, my number 6. So I have Gene Silva.
Fair.
You know, like right now in his current form, I don't know if there's a single featherweight I'd take over Gene Silva.
So Volk, I'd take my boy Volk.
I think that Gene Silva has so much power that he could beat Volk right now. I am that high on him, which is
at this point, Movsar could KO Volk, bro.
Yeah, no chin left. But I'm really high on Gene Silva. I know that we're both really high on him. You know, we think that he is the best fighting nerd.
Yeah.
So,
but I wouldn't say he's like. Give him a couple more fights. I wouldn't pick him over the top.
I would. He can't lose right now.
All right.
He cannot lose.
Well, that's surprising that he's only 6 on your list then?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of can't lose guys around here.
True. All right, my number 6 fighter, it's Merab. You know, he's lost before. He's been KO'd before. I think he has the potential to be KO'd again. He's very hittable. He's a blockhead. It's not like he has this Max Holloway or John Jones level chin, or even like, you know, he's almost similar to Shavkat, you know, like very hittable, not a lot of head movement, but just kind of drowns his opponents. So look, he beat Nurmagomedov. That's a great achievement, but it's the weakest out of that family, you know. Gas is super fast, like cardio is his big weakness, and you're going up against the cardio machine.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. I just think that Merab definitely has some chance to lose, but he also has a lot of aura from his clips.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
All right, my number 5 guy. So I have Alexandre Pantoja. He just gives off unbeatable.
Yeah.
You know, he is the king of decision wins right now.
Yeah, well, this is where I have Pantoja too.
Okay, yeah. It's how do you beat this guy? Mm-hmm. You know, what is your game plan to beat maybe one like a top 3 most well-rounded fighter inside of the UFC?
There is no game plan for Pantoja.
It's like knock him out or finish him is basically the game plan, because
early too.
The second you get into the championship rounds, it's over.
Yeah, you can't KO him in the championship rounds.
No. So Kai Car friends, you gotta go early, because you're not gonna beat this guy.
Yeah, I think that just him eating that knee from Kaya Sakura solidified that this dude's not getting KO'd.
Kaya Sakura didn't land fully. Shut up. That was a knee to the skull.
Yeah, and you could hear it reverberate in
Bro, your skull be indented. You'd be dead.
Yeah, any of us would be KO'd.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, he just championship. He might be the best fighter inside of the championship rounds right now in the UFC.
Yeah, Pantoja can't lose. That's what it feels like.
Number 4 for me. This is where I have Merab. You know, we went from being like, oh, Sean O'Malley just destroys Merab.
Don't remind me of those videos, bro.
Umar easily beats Merab.
You know, I'm gonna reuse the same title and thumbnail for UFC 316 Masterclass Sean O'Malley.
But now it's like we're at the point where in less than a year, in 6 months, we've gone from, oh, he's just going to get destroyed but in both of these championship fights to, yeah, no one's beating him for at least 2 years. Like, there's no one can even touch him.
Point.
No one can even touch this guy.
We did pick against him in both of those fights.
And he is untouchable right now. Yeah. Like, there is no one who has a chance against him.
It's a great point. Throw Aldo back in there. He doesn't get taken down. He'll get held up against the fence, hopping on one leg for 5 rounds, and people will call it robbery. Me. Okay, my number 4 fighter, Chimaev.
Ooh, okay.
The dude just can't lose.
I don't know who you have more high than me.
More English. But dude, Chimaev literally just can't lose, bro. Except if he pulls out of the fight.
Yeah.
And if he shows up weak and disheveled and his kid's health is messed up. Like there's definitely moments in the Usman and the Gilbert Burns fight where I'm like, okay, yeah, he could lose this. Like legit, he could get KO'd here. And I think that kind of really dampened my perception of him. But then the Robert Whittaker fight, it's like, oh, he's so back. He's so back. Yeah. So it's I have reservations about Hamza. Everyone knows that I have reservations about Hamza.
None.
And you have none. He's probably number 1 on the list.
Number 3 is Hamza for me.
Okay.
You know, I think that I definitely had a lot of questions pre-UFC 308, but just the aura that this man demonstrated in the lead up.
You're confident when you can wear glasses and a turtleneck and you're Hamza Chimaev.
You know, that right now, like I think he's the best fighter in the UFC right now when 100% healthy. I think that he is the most unbeatable fighter when 100% healthy. And just how often do you get 100% Hamza Chimaev? And I think that diminishes a little bit from his aura, you know?
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh yeah, 100% he can't lose, but what happens when he comes into a fight sick or with an injury, which is every fight, it seems like, basically.
Yeah, that's the only reason why Hamza isn't one. All right, my number 3 fighter is Carlos Prates. Dude, he has the most aura in the UFC right now. I don't think it's close, especially after Alex Pereira lost.
Yeah.
Like, Carlos Prates is that guy, even though I'm probably picking against him at UFC 314. Ian Gary's really good.
Yeah, it's so tough.
But it's
that
just
fight's gonna be a banger.
It's probably the one I'm looking forward to the most. Like Volkan Lopez is iconic.
What's on at 314?
Oh right,
it
got moved.
April 29th or whatever.
Right, yeah, the main event of Kansas. So, oh shoot. Well, that kind of ruined my mood actually, but I'm still excited for it. And like I said, Prates, I think the MMA community knows this. Like we know he might not actually be the most well-rounded or the best prospect coming up in welterweight. Like welterweight is just 15 prospects pretty much in the rankings. So he's not the best as of right now, but you just can't imagine this dude losing.
I'm interested. We both obviously have the same top 2.
Yeah.
See what order we have them in. Number 2, I have Ilya Toptura.
Toptura. Interesting.
Yes. I think, my reasoning for Toptura being at number 2 is just he has the can't lose aura, but he also, for him, it seems like he's pushing the aura. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He is the one that is creating his own aura, trying to be this next big thing, rather than the guy having number 1 who the aura just suits himself. This is generations of aura on this guy, where Topuria maybe next year will obviously whoever wins the inevitable fight is number 1.
Dude, don't call it. I don't think it's ever gonna happen. Don't call it inevitable.
With the potential.
Makhachev's gonna move up.
Whoa! Spoiler!
Yeah, sorry, I have the script actually. Makhachev's moving up and fighting JDM when JDM wins. Now this makes me want Bilal to win because I would rather have Bilal win the welterweight belt and Makhachev stay in his little place and fight Topuria. I do think that Topuria. It's weird. I've heard so many different things. Like recently, I've heard that Topuria versus Charles got leaked on the Spanish broadcast, but I also heard Islam Dulatov's manager or someone says that he's fighting at International Fight Week on the same card as Islam. And if Islam's fighting on International Fight Week, it's not Big Rufus Justin Gaethje. It's going to be Topuria.
They could pull the Gaethje fight.
I would kill myself, bro. And I'm not exaggerating.
Like, I actually wouldn't be surprised if Islam just fought Gaethje for a free title defense.
My biggest problem with the UFC is Makhachev and his free title defenses, so I'm not going to start on that.
But yeah, I just think that the guy at 1 has the generational aura brought on by Cuzzy.
That's crazy.
And
the hot tub Cuzzy.
Yeah, you go with your number 2.
Well, my number 2 is Makhachev. It was close. Can you stop interrupting me? Thank you. It was very close, but the reason why Makhachev's at number 2 is because he does have a loss. Hey, he's beatable in the UFC too. It's not like it's on some regional scene when this dude was half-assing it. He had Khabib in his corner, and Khabib went, "Oh no!" You know,
it was when Islam was still looking like Marab.
Honestly,
young Islam, young Marab twins.
That's so true. So he's lost. We know he's susceptible to a big power punch. You know, he doesn't have a granite chin, so he definitely can lose. We've seen it before, and I believe one man can do it. The Georgians will take over from Dagestan.
Yeah, number 1, Islam. Kind of what I said. He is a beneficiary of the Nurmagomedov name, even though he's not a Nurmagomedov, the Dagestani aura. But just the pound for pound number 1. You know, he just has that unbeatable aura behind him.
I have a good idea for a video. We should do like top 10 casual UFC search history. You know what I mean? Like, what is a casual UFC fan looking up for the UFC? Because, like, is Islam Khabib's cousin, or like, is Islam Khabib's brother? I feel like that's a common one.
Tracy Cortez Instagram.
Guilty. Sorry.
All right, tell me about Ilia Topuria.
Well, I mean, he's my boy. He's literally my boy. He's unbeatable right now. I think he starches Charles. I don't care, bro. What I saw from Charles' last fight,
chin?
Yeah, Charles's chin is going down fast.
It's going to literally be the same as Volkan Holloway fights.
And if you think about it, let's say Islam actually vacates and we get Charles versus Islam for a real...
That is Charles.
Sorry, Charles versus Ilya for a title. Charles is over 35. He ain't ever touching that belt.
Well, I think, too, is just... It's literally... I don't see a world where it pans out differently than Max and Volk fights, 2 rounds, 7.5 minutes of competitiveness, and then boom.
I mean, I'll go back to this point. I know styles make matchups, but if Charles Oliveira could not get Michael Chandler down after round 2, I just don't see how he's gonna get Topuria down, who's an actual. He's pretty good at Greco-Roman, so. I think Charles is going to be very scared of that power because we know he's chinny. Mm-hmm. He falls down easily, and Topuria might just hop in his guard. Like Makhachev did. He might hop in his guard and start pounding him. And Charles is like, "Whoa, you're not allowed to do that, bro.
It's illegal."
Exactly. Ref. Yeah, Mark Goddard's gonna be jumping in there, separating them. But yeah, I think Topuria just has. I've doubted him in the Volk fight. I doubted him in my head in the Max fight. I might have not vocalized it very much, but I really thought Max, if anyone's going to beat him, it's going to be Max. Volume, can't get taken down, can't get KO'd, and Topuria has proven me wrong over and over again by KOing the best guys and doing exactly what he said he's going to do. We can't compare him to McGregor, and the comparisons are pretty accurate because he manifests these things. I'll KO Max Holloway. It's never been done before. He does it.
Yeah.
So it's hard to go against him.
Yeah. All right, that's going to wrap it up for us today. Make sure you guys go down to the comments. Let us know who has the most can't lose aura inside of the UFC. While you're down there, make sure you guys are liking and subscribing. Appreciate all the love and support. And we'll see you guys next time. Peace.
See ya.